Neferneferuaten Nefertiti was the great royal wife of Akhenaten, an Egyptian pharaoh. Nefertiti and her husband were known for a religious revolution, in which they worshipped one god only, Aten, or the sun disk. Akhenaten and Nefertiti were responsible for the creation of a whole new religion which changed the ways of religion within Egypt. With her husband, they reigned at what was arguably the wealthiest period of ancient Egyptian history. Some scholars believe that Nefertiti ruled briefly as Neferneferuaten after her husband's death and before the accession of Tutankhamun, although this identification is a matter of ongoing debate. Nefertiti had many titles including Hereditary Princess, Great of Praises, Lady of Grace, Sweet of Love, Lady of the Two Lands, Main King Unregistered Trademark Wife, His Beloved, Great King Unregistered Trademark Wife, His Beloved, Lady of All Women, and Mistress of Upper and Lower Egypt. She was made famous by her bust, now in Berlin's Nase Museum, shown to the right. The bust is one of the most copied works of ancient Egypt. It was attributed to the sculptor Thutmose, and it was found in his workshop. The bust is notable for exemplifying the understanding ancient Egyptians had regarding realistic facial proportions. Family, see also 18th dynasty of Egypt family tree. Nefertiti, Egyptian Nfertjytj, original pronunciation approximately Naftata, 4. Nefertiti's parentage is not known with certainty, but one often cited theory is that she was the daughter of later to be pharaoh. Scenes in the tombs of the nobles in Amarna mention the Queen Unregistered Trademark sister who is named bnrt. Another theory that gained some support identified Nefertiti with the Mitanni princess Tutankhamun. The exact dates of when Nefertiti was married to Akhenaten and later promoted to queenship are uncertain. Their 6 known daughters were, Meryt no later than year 1, possibly later became Pharaoh Neferneferuaten. Akhenaten, year 4. Ankhusenaten, also known as Ankhesenamun, later queen of Tutankhamun, Neferneferuaten Tasheret, year, possibly later became Pharaoh Neferneferuaten. Nefernefer, year 9. Setepenri, year 11. Life. Nefertiti first appears in scenes in Thebes. In the damaged tomb of the royal butler Paranef, the new king Amenhotep is accompanied by a royal woman, and this lady is thought to be an early depiction of Nefertiti. The king and queen are shown worshipping the Aten. In the tomb of the vizier Ramos, Nefertiti is shown standing behind Amenhotep in the window of appearance during the reward ceremony for the vizier. During the early years in Thebes, Akhenaten had several temples erected at Karnak. One of the structures, the mansion of the Benben, was dedicated to Nefertiti. She is depicted with her daughter Meryt, and in some scenes the princess Akhenaten participates in the scenes as well. In scenes found on the Talatat, Nefertiti appears almost twice as often as her husband. She is shown appearing behind her husband the pharaoh in offering scenes in the role of the queen supporting her husband, but she is also depicted in scenes that would have normally been the prerogative of the king. She is shown smiting the enemy, and captive enemies decorate her throne. In the 4th year of his reign, Amenhotep decided to move the capital to Akhenaten. In his 5th year, Amenhotep officially changed his name to Akhenaten, and Nefertiti was henceforth known as Neferneferuaten Nefertiti. The name change was a sign of the ever-increasing importance of the cult of the Aten. It changed Egypt's religion from a polytheistic religion to a religion which may have been better described as a monolatry or henotheism. The boundary stelae of years 4 and 5 mark the boundaries of the new city and suggest that the move to the new city of Akhenaten occurred around that time. The new city contained several large open-air temples dedicated to the Aten. Nefertiti and her family would have resided in the Great Royal Palace in the center of the city and possibly at the Northern Palace as well. Nefertiti and the rest of the royal family feature prominently in the scenes at the palaces and in the tombs of the nobles. Nefertiti Unregistered Trademark steward during this time was an official named meryt. He would have been in charge of running her household. Inscriptions in the tombs of Hua and Meryt dated to year 12, 2nd month of Peret, day 8 show a large foreign tribute. the people of Keru and Kush are shown bringing gifts of gold and precious items to Akhenaten and Nefertiti. In the tomb of meryt-p, Nefertiti unregistered trademark steward, the royal couple is shown seated in a kiosk with their 6 daughters in attendance. This is one of the last times Princess Akhenaten is shown alive. 2 representations of Nefertiti that were excavated by Flinders Petrie appear to show Nefertiti in the middle to later part of Akhenaten's reign after the exaggerated style of the early years had relaxed somewhat. One is a small piece on limestone and is a preliminary sketch of Nefertiti wearing her distinctive tall crown with carving began around the mouth, chin, ear and tail of the crown. Another is a small inlay head modeled from reddish-brown quartzite that was clearly intended to fit into a larger composition. Akhenaten may have died in year 13 or 14. Nefertiti, Akhenaten, and 3 princesses are shown mourning her. Nefertiti disappears from the scene soon after that. Death. Old theories. Pre-2012 Egyptological theories thought that Nefertiti vanished from the historical record around year 14 of Akhenaten's reign, with no word of her thereafter. Explanations included a sudden death, by a plague that was sweeping through the city, or some other natural death. This theory was based on the discovery of several shabji fragments inscribed for Nefertiti. A previous theory, that she fell into disgrace, was discredited when deliberate erasures of monuments belonging to a queen of Akhenaten were shown to refer to Kiya instead. During Akhenaten's reign, Nefertiti enjoyed unprecedented power. By the 12th year of his reign, there is evidence she may have been elevated to the status of co-regent, equal in status to the pharaoh as may be depicted on the Corrigency stela. It is possible Nefertiti is the ruler named Neferneferuaten. Some theorists believe that Nefertiti was still alive and held influence on the younger royals. If this is the case, that influence and presumably Nefertiti's own life would have ended by year 3 of Tutankhamun's reign. In that year, Tutankhamun changed his name to Tutankhamun. This is evidence of his return to the official worship of Amun, and abandonment of Amarna to return the capital to Thebes. New theories, discovered in 2012, a regnal year 16, month 3 of Akhet, day 15 inscription, dated explicitly to Akhenaten's reign, mentions the presence of the great royal wife, his beloved, mistress of the 2 lands, Neferneferuaten Nefertiti. The badly legible 5-line text mentions a building project in Amarna. This means that Nefertiti was alive in the second to last year of Akhenaten's reign, and demonstrates that Akhenaten still ruled alone, with his wife by his side. Therefore, the rule of the female Amarna pharaoh known as Neferneferuaten must be placed between the death of Akhenaten and the accession of Tutankhamun. This female pharaoh used the epithet effective for her husband in one of her cartouches, which means she was either Nefertiti or her daughter Meryt. Burial. There are many theories regarding her death and burial but, to date, the mummy of this famous queen, her parents or her children has not been found or formally identified. In 1898, archaeologist Victor Loret found 2 female mummies inside the tomb of Amenhotep in KV 35 in the Valley of the Kings. These 2 mummies, named the Elder Lady and the Younger Lady, were likely candidates of her remains. The KMT suggested in 2001 that the Elder Lady may be Nefertiti's body. It was argued that the evidence suggests that the mummy is around her mid-30s or early 40s, Nefertiti's guessed age of death. More evidence to support this identification was that the mummy's teeth look like that of a 29 to 38-year-old, Nefertiti's most likely age of death. Also, unfinished busts of Nefertiti appear to resemble the mummy's face, though other suggestions included Tutankhamun. Due to recent age tests on the mummy's teeth, it eventually became apparent that the Elder Lady is in fact Queen Tiye, mother of Akhenaten, and that the DNA of the mummy is a close, if not direct, match to the lock of hair found in Tutankhamun's tomb. The lock of hair was found in a cofnet bearing an inscription naming Queen Tiye. Results have discovered that she was the daughter of Ua and Thuya, who were the parents of Queen Tiye, thus ruling her out as Nefertiti. Younger Lady. On June 9, 2003, archaeologist Joanne Fletcher, a specialist in ancient hair from the University of York in England, announced that Nefertiti's mummy may have been the Younger Lady. Fletcher suggested that Nefertiti was the pharaoh's Shm'w-mhw. Some Egyptologists hold to this view, though the majority believe Shm'w-mhw to have been a separate person. Fletcher led an expedition funded by the Discovery Channel to examine what they believed to have been Nefertiti's mummy. The team claimed that the mummy they examined was damaged in a way suggesting the body had been deliberately desecrated in antiquity. Mummification techniques, such as the use of embalming fluid and the presence of an intact brain, suggested an 18th dynasty royal mummy. Other elements which the team used to support their theory were the age of the body, the presence of embedded nymph beads, and a wig of a rare style worn by Nefertiti. They further claimed that the mummy's arm was originally bent in the position reserved for pharaohs, but was later snapped off and replaced with another arm in a normal position. Most Egyptologists, among them Kent Weeks and Peter Locavre, generally dismiss Fletcher's claims as unsubstantiated. They say that ancient mummies are almost impossible to identify as a particular person without DNA. As bodies of Nefertiti's parents or children have never been identified, her conclusive identification is impossible. Any circumstantial evidence, such as hairstyle and arm position, is not reliable enough to pinpoint a single, specific historical person. The cause of damage to the mummy can only be speculated upon, and the alleged revenge is an unsubstantiated theory. Bent arms, contrary to Fletcher's claims, were not reserved to pharaohs. This was also used for other members of the royal family. The wig found near the mummy is of unknown origin, and cannot be conclusively linked to that specific body. Finally, the 18th dynasty was one of the largest and most prosperous dynasties of ancient Egypt. A female royal mummy could be any of 100 royal wives or daughters from the 18th dynasty's more than 200 years on the throne. In addition, there was controversy about both the age and sex of the mummy. On June 12, 2003, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass, head of Egypt's Supreme Council for Antiquities, also dismissed the claim, citing insufficient evidence. On August 30, 2003, Reuters further quoted Hawass, "I'm sure that this mummy is not a female, and Dr. Fletcher has broken the rules and therefore, at least until we have reviewed the situation with her university, she must be banned from working in Egypt." On different occasions, Hawass has claimed that the mummy is female and male. In a more recent research effort led by Hawass, the mummy was put through CT scan analysis. Researchers concluded that she may be Tutankhamun's biological mother, an unnamed daughter of Amenhotep III and Queen Tiye, not Nefertiti. Fragments of shattered bone were found in the sinus, and blood clots were found. The theory that the damage was inflicted post-mummification was rejected, and a murder scenario was deemed more likely. The broken-off bent forearm found near the mummy, which had been proposed to have belonged to mummy, was conclusively shown not to actually belong to it. Scholars think that, after Tutankhamun returned Egypt to the traditional religion, he moved his closest relatives, father, grandmother, and biological mother, to the Valley of the Kings to be buried with him. Iconic status. Nefertiti's place as an icon in popular culture is secure as she has become something of a celebrity. After Cleopatra, she is the second most famous queen of ancient Egypt in the Western imagination. In the arts, novels, Mika Waltari, The Egyptian. Alan Drury, God Against the Gods. Story of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Negub Mahfouz, Akhenaten, Dweller in Truth. Nefertiti is one of the characters who reflects on Akhenaten and the Amarna period. Michelle Moran, Nefertiti, a novel. Music. Nefertiti is a classical ballet by American composer John Craton. Nefertiti, Sun Goddess appears on the demo album compact disc, The Aten Shines Again by Neferneferuaten Boyle. A subsequent YouTube video was created for the track in November 2012. Nefertiti is a studio album by American jazz musician Miles Davis, released in December 1967. Film, 1954, The Egyptian, played by Anitra Stevens, 1961, Nefertiti, Queen of the Nile, played by Jeanne Crane, 1994, Nefertiti, Figlia del Sol, played by Michela Rocco di Torrepadula, television, Doctor Who, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, played by Ryan Steele, The Lorette the Young Show, Queen Nefertiti, played by Lorette the Young. Alternate title letter to Loretta, Nefertiti was also cited as inspiration for the character Cortana in the Halo video game series. Gallery. References. External links: Saatliche Museen zu Berlin, Egyptian Museum and Papyrus Collection.